From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life, and ranking all those things. I'm Ken Napson.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And we're back here for another edition of Star Wars Ranked. The show has returned. We did this show for many, many years. And last week, I actually forgot about half a year, Jen. I said we had done like 148 episodes. That's because my ForceCenter Archives Google Sheet stops around that time. And I forgot that we actually had done up to 157 episodes of Star Wars Ranked.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot. So we're back in Star Wars Ranked. I think this is 158 or 159. I think I've messed up my own numbering already, Jen. So
Okay, that's all right. We're
I
starting
went through
fresh.
I don't worry about the numbers too much, but Spotify and Apple and a lot of podcast spots do, because if you don't number your episodes by seasons or numbers, they're all over your feed on your homepage, on your podcast pages. So anyways, numbers aside, today's episode of Star Wars Ranked, as you might know if you clicked on the episode, is our favorite Star Wars creatures. Jen, there's a lot of choices. In fact, the StarWars.com databank had well over like 83 choices.
Oh my God.
I also got some choices from our supporters on Blue Sky in celebration of Blue Sky kicking up a notch and all these new people and followers and activity on there. I asked the question on there. I'll read some of the choices and some of the people there. But one of the things, Jen, the first thing, we almost could make this a mini subjective wars.
Yeah.
But I think we agree, is this is Star Wars creatures, and we're going to do an episode with Star Wars monsters. The dividing line is thin, Jen, but what do you think?
Absolutely. And when I started thinking about this, I started thinking of monsters, and I thought, well, that doesn't feel right? It doesn't feel right to put a Dianoga or I don't know, a Rancor, as we talked about, with something cute and cuddly or kind or friendly or I don't know. So they need their own category.
And I remember back in my radio days in the 90s, I was at a community fair in my hometown, and I was part of the hosting and emceeing and not judging, but I was part of a local beauty pageant, which has its own own problems.
Oh, no.
But we didn't care. Like, me and the program director of the radio station were like, whatever. Parents take it pretty seriously. And we had divided up into age categories, right? So it was we had 3 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 17, I think. No one quote me on that, but I remember it was 3 to 9. We do the whole thing. We're in a gazebo in the town square of Arroyo Grande, California. I'm the radio man, listening to KBR 95, and the parents cornered me after. I'm 20 years old at this time. They cornered me, and they're like, "What are you doing? You can't, a 3-year-old versus a 9-year-old, that can't compete. It's not fair to the 3-year-old. It's not fair to the 9-year-old. It's not fair to the 5-year-old." And I realized, all right, we should have done 3 to 6 and 7 to 10, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I want to avoid any controversies, Jen. That's why we made the decision, as I tell that weird story, to go to Star Wars creatures and Star Wars monsters. So apologize out there if we've offended anyone.
Well, it was a different time. I want to know why the parents are putting their 3-year-olds in a beauty pageant. Oh, toddlers and tiaras. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, this was 1996, so this was that era where we should have really started questioning it, but a different conversation for another time. So that in mind, Jen, we have got some ideas here as we dive into it. We're going to list, and for those that have been watching since last week, but also following Star Wars Ranked for years, we used to do this a little differently, a little bit more long form. We each have 5 ideas. We share them, and the list is just that, our top 5 lists each. I've decided to shorten it up a little bit. I don't want to say gamify it, but in honor of some other great shows out there, including We Got This, a top 10 show, and even our own Subjective Wars, which is a fun opinion debate. We're going to present. I'm going to present a bunch of lists, a bunch of a pool of answers. Jen has submitted some as well, just so we're clear. And then from there, we're going to make our list of 5. That's what we're going to do. We're kind of going to negotiate. But on Blue Sky asks, what are some of your favorite Star Wars creatures? And Jen, we got some good answers, but controversial. 8984M, Brady, put Basil from Acolyte. But I would argue that's a character. That's a creature, but it's a character.
Yeah. Would that be more of I almost see it like Basil, like part of an alien species, but
correct. Yes.
Right?
Yes. But he could be, but he looks like a creature.
But he looks like a creature. He looks like a badger / upright beaver. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so to harken back to Dana Carvey's old sketch of the John McLaughlin Group, 898 for you're wrong. Next creature.
Oh no.
Rich Rodriguez suggested tauntauns. Michelle Menozzi suggested lothcats, purgles, and porgs. Darth Somnus suggested lothcats as well. I'm not reading the ones that I think are monsters. We'll keep that for another episode. Star Wars Legends Lounge suggested the Lurka Hounds like Batcher from the Bad Batch. And then, of course, someone correctly responded with Betcha. Then we have some good ones down. Oh, one of our longtime supporters and listeners. We love Connie. Connie, she suggested Purgles, Lothcats, and Porgs. Ramcast definitely says got to throw some love to the Mirquals, which is the creature from Star Wars Outlaws that's going on right now. So some other great ones as well. Oh, and Never Too Aware suggested Puffer Pigs. Don't you worry, Puffer Pigs will be in the pool. Whether they make the top 5, we'll see. We'll see. So shout out to that. So Jen, without further ado, are you ready for the choices here today?
This is already tough. This is going to be tough. Five? We're
going for 5.
Ooh,
and
boy.
Look, here's the
All
thing.
right.
Last time out, we did our favorite Ewok moments. You're associated with Ewoks in Star Wars fandom, but I think lesser known is your love of Star Wars creatures.
Yeah. This is what we're going to have to break this up into toddler and toddler
3 to 5.
and, like little kid, tweens. The porgs would be the toddlers.
There we go. So
we're separating into like cute, cuddly, right?
And look, I got some options here, and you might even push back and say, nah, more monster than creature. But I think for me, like, I'll tell you right now, I didn't put Wampa on the creature list. I almost did. And the StarWars.com databank just lists as creatures, right? It's all in there. But the way the Wampa is used in Empire Strikes Back, that's a monster.
It's monster.
That's a monster 100%. In the cave. Yes. So that's kind of the dividing line here. That's the spirit. The Wampa is the best example I could give of what is the dividing line for me in this. But here we go. Here's some choices, Jen, and we're going to work away. Tauntauns, Kowakian monkey lizards, porgs, lothcats, purgles, Lurka hounds like Batcher, Mirquals, Viractals like Boga, the one that Obi-Wan Kenobi writes, definitely looks like a monster, but as someone who had pet lizards, they're not monsters. They're wonderful creatures. Vulptix from Last Jedi, Fathiers, also from Last Jedi, Dewbacks, I think a forgotten option, Banthas as well, Blurgs, Convor, Hapabor, Kadu, of course, ridden by the Gungans in the battle, Puffer Pigs, Thalassirens going to the famous and infamous green milk scene, a favorite scene of mine and a favorite creature of mine. We'll see if it makes the list. And the final one, because Joseph Scrimshaw could not be here today because he's shooting his film, in honor of Joseph and his appreciation of Shaq butts from Attack of the Clones, we're going with Shaq from the Wild Plains of Naboo. Those are some choices. You might have some more, Jen, but we're beginning right here, right now with your pitch for number 5.
Okay, this is where my biases come in. Because already I'm like, oh, this is I know exactly where I'm going. Okay, all right. Maybe I don't know where I'm going. Okay, so I'm thinking Tauntauns. I'm gonna put Tauntauns maybe at number 5 for myself. I'm gonna pitch it. Okay.
Grabbing a piece of paper here because we got to work this out. Okay, so you're pitching Tauntauns at number 5.
Oh wait, what? You know what? Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, because here's the problem. This is where I'm already seeing my leanings. Yes. I love the original trilogy stuff. Sure. I'm going to put that higher. I can't help it. You all. It really this is just it's been in my blood for many years.
Scratching Tauntauns out. Okay.
Just scratch them off. So let's get one of the newer. Do we want something that's iconic? Do we want something that's like
this? Look, Jen, this is not a question of do we want. This is what does Jennifer Landa want?
Gosh dang it. Okay. All right. We're gonna go weird. Okay. I'm gonna say the Thalassiren.
Wow,
I think in terms of like creatures that really like it kind of is reminiscent of our world a little bit. Like there's elements of that creature where you're like, oh, could that have been a dinosaur? Maybe, I don't know, man.
Or you turn the corner at the zoo and you get lost on the map and you're like, what bird is this? But it's here.
But
Okay.
it's here. It's also got a very Dr. Seuss-like quality to it, which I really appreciate. It also repulsed so many people that I kind of love that as a bit of a contrarian myself.
Okay.
And people were really turned off by, I don't want to say breastfeeding because it wasn't like Luz was breastfeeding, but like I'm all for people breastfeeding in public because when your baby wants to feed, your baby wants to feed. And so I think I think that the milking was an important statement to make. So for those reasons,
Socially. Thematically, all right. See, this is not a show. The way this show, and by the way, this is the second time we've done this version of the show. It's not necessarily debate. Other shows, including our friends Hal and Mark, produced by Ken Plume, We Got This. You guys got to check out that show. It does become kind of more of a debate. It's like subjective wars and ranked pushed together. These aren't necessarily new concepts. This is just our ForceCenter version of it here. They do a great job of debate and discussing, and it gets wild and fun. I'm not here to debate or pull anything off this list. So if you want to go with Alice Sirens, you've convinced me. I don't know if I love the characters. I don't know if it'd be on my top 5 if I did this alone, but I do think they are memorable. I said famous or infamous. I do love the scene because it is thematically, it is Rey going to find this hero that she believes and has been told will save the day. He rejects her and his own way is saying, look at me, I'm still a farm boy just doing chores. That's that look he gives to her. She loves the Thalassarans, but is kind of disgusted by what he's doing. Not the green milk, but just upset with what he's going on. It's an important thematic scene. People always say you had that scene, but you didn't have Akbar's death and a funeral for Akbar. Two separate things. Apples, oranges. The Thalassaran scene is very important to the Luke Skywalker we find at that time. And the Thalassarans are so memorable and so practical, including the poof in the milk.
Yes.
That I think time will prove us right, Jen, that they belong on this list. Thalassarans number 5. Am I off base? Let me know.
You all are going to let us know. I know it's a controversial pick, but I think also I just want to submit the expression that the Thalassaran has is like this look of just like accepting her fate, which any mother can tell you if you breastfed a child. There comes a point where you're just like, I am just a vessel of milk. And let me tell you, I identified with the Thalassaran.
This is why your perspective was always and will be the most valuable thing here in Star Wars. Because I understand that. What you're saying, but I've not felt it. It's not my life. It's not my lived-in perspective or experience. I've always thought the Thalassaran is looking at Rey and is like, it's a Tuesday. Like, it's just, this is what's going on. Welcome to Octo. So there you go. All right, there we go. Ooh, this is going to be, all right. So that's our number 5, Thalassaran. I'm going to go, my number 2. Look, there's some great options there. I love Lurka Hounds, and I'm not saying any of these won't get on the list. I love banthas. I've always said one of my first celebrity sightings was going to like the San Diego Zoo and the Wild Animal Kingdom on a little tour, and they said that's the elephant that was in Star Wars was a bantha. That was like my first celebrity sighting as a kid. I love that. So I have a soft spot for that. I've grown to love the Blurgs because of Mandalorian. I for years have loved the Hapabor from Force Awakens, the one that Finn finds at the water trough. And Joseph and I and you've had a long-running just kind of reference joke of big old Hapabor butts just sitting there between Shaq butts and Hapabor butts. Here's where I'm gonna go though. I do think that people are gonna.
I know.
All right, I'm gonna change. All right, I'm changing up on mine. I'm going to Dewbacks.
Oh,
I wanted Dewbacks. I almost went with I'll be honest. I got scared off. I almost went with another Last Jedi choice, but this list could literally just be Last Jedi.
I know.
Because I love all of them. But I'm going with Dewbacks because I think they're overlooked. I think people might think they're monsters, and definitely the people riding them, the stormtroopers, are monsters here, monster regime. But the Dewbacks, and I love when they show back up Mandalorian, that 5th episode. They to me were that early creature from the Star Wars. Again, speaking from our old trilogy, original trilogy, but old trilogy, our 80s upbringing. They were one of the first creatures to inspire me. Like you could ride a lizard. I have a lizard. Could I ride that lizard? Could I take that around town? That leads to other things. It leads to a Varactyl. And I'm not saying the Varactyl can't be on the list here as well if you want it on. I am going to go with the classic. I'm going to go with that Kenner figure, the Dewback patrol, the patrol Dewback that we all wanted. Some had. I didn't get it. It's a classic, Jen. It might even be a boring, safe choice. I think I backed off my own instincts there, but I'm sticking by it. Classic, safe, Dewback. Any rebuttal or thoughts?
I love it. I for a moment I was like, is it too? I don't want to say boring, right?
Or no,
but,
you could say it. It's boring. It's a steadfast, boring pick, right?
No, but I would actually say it's not boring, and the reason why is like for me the Bantha. Although it looks like weird, it was more like real world in some sense when I would see it. But the Dewback took elements of familiarity from our world and really made it wild. It made it like you're saying, like, I could ride that, but we don't have anything like that in our world. I love the Dewback. That's a good choice.
Like a Bantha. Love Banthas too, but like it's got Bantha, the Book of Boba Fett teeth brushing scene with the Bantha is still one of my favorite things in Star Wars. But a Bantha is a space elephant in a lot of ways. A Dewback is, like you said, and I suggested, it's you're riding the pet that you have in your aquarium in your bedroom.
Exactly.
And I think I give it credit. Again, maybe boring's not the right pick, but have you ever been, Jed, in like a kind of bad relationship with a lot of just too much fire, and then eventually you get out of it and you're like, I just want to hang out with this nice, simple, steadfast pick.
Seriously.
It's Dewback. Okay.
Dewback. Right. And it's a blueprint for a lot of these other creatures that we love. So
right. I'm with you on there. All right. So that is, we got a lot of choices. Sorry, I didn't make a Google Doc for you this time to cross off the choices, but we got this email list here. Behind the scenes ForceCenter stuff there. Jen, where are you going with number 3? Off the list is Thalassarans and Dewbacks. We still have a lot to choose from here.
I know that if I pick certain things, I'm going to make the people upset. I don't want to make you all upset out there. So.
Look, I backed off afraid of the people. You don't need to be afraid of the people. I'll take the heat. I'll take the people heat. You go with your heart.
We're getting down to the top slots. We're dwindling, and I already know where my heart is going for those last spots. So it's like,
okay,
who's going to go in this area? Okay.
Look, this isn't designed to be easy.
I know. All right. Okay. I'm going to go with a creature species that to me really exemplifies Star Wars creatures. I'm going with the Kowakian monkey lizards.
Ooh, I had this pegged for your number 1 choice. This is fascinating. Okay.
I know, and I really, really wrestle because I want to make the people happy, but I also
we are populous here.
But I also know that not everyone adores Kowakian monkey lizards and salacious bee crumbs specifically as much as I do. And I've had to fight to keep my salacious bee crumb puppet that I got at Galaxy's Edge. I've had to fight for that little guy's life to not give him away to the Goodwill.
Yeah.
But the spirit of the creature, humor, a dark sense of humor, specifically of salacious bee crumb. They are scrappy. They're resourceful. You could believe that they could exist in our world, that you might find them in some forest somewhere, right? They live in the trees. The design with like the big ears is so comical, but their little bodies remind me of like Kermit the Frog's body that I just want to squeeze.
Or chase after them like Charles Durning in the Muppet movie. We're going to make Kowakian monkey lizard legs. Yeah.
The fact that he's also, here again, a reliable companion. They're good companions, I imagine, if you're able to domesticate them a bit, offer them some food and some treats. I think you'd have a buddy for life. So, yeah. So that's why I'm pitching that.
It's a great choice. This is something I knew was going to be on your list. Your love of Jabba's palace and the creatures of Star Wars and just specifically the creatures we find on Tatooine. And I get it. We're back to back, Dewbacks and Kowakian monkey lizards. But And to the people, I thought about this too, Jen. To the people, it would suggest, well, Salacious B. Crumb. I mean, God bless it, he has a middle initial. Is a character more than a creature. I agree with it to a point. The difference is you just got the sense, having, chihuahuas in my life, Frances has a name. Frances has a voice. Frances has her own agency and actions and choices. She's still a pet.
Right.
I think this is, she doesn't think she is. We joke she thinks she's a human, but Salacious B. Crumb, Sally B, for all the naming and all the things he does, including the crappy things he does to 3PSI. That's still Jabba's pet.
He's still a creature. Mm-hmm. I know. Oh man. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's a good choice. Okay.
That was tough.
I'm curious what you this is. I think this is. I didn't know what your choices were going to be, but I feel like you've changed on the fly.
I did.
Curious. Okay.
Oh boy.
So we have a lot of great choices. We always, on the old Star Wars Rank versions, used to do honorable mentions. Maybe we'll toss some here quickly, but that Joseph and I, a lot of times when we record, when it was just Joseph and I recording Star Wars Ranked ourselves, we're like, all right, we cannot have a 2-hour episode of Star Wars Ranked. We got to get this in 30 minutes. And then we get to the special mentions, and it would be 45 minutes later. So that's the design here, is to not do that. But we got some ones we can mention that. But my number 2, Jen, what I'm pitching here for the number 2, you kind of touched on it earlier. I kind of went with the less flashier version with Dewback. Tauntauns have to be on this list.
Yes, 100%.
Tauntauns have to be on this list. They are iconic. They are key to the story in the sense, and there's been storytelling after them in the Empire Strikes Back collection of stories, the certain point of view stories, heartbreaking story in there about the Tauntauns. But they're just, you can't tell the story of Star Wars in Empire Strikes Back without Tauntauns being around. They're so key. You either got the Kenner figure. I'm looking at one right now across a little Lego mini one I have over there. You talk about not wanting to give up Star Wars collectibles. You and I are both in this period of our lives where we're maybe kind of purging some of our collectibles for either space, time, money, whatever reason is. I have the Han on Tauntaun 6-inch Black Series one. I am trying to sell it. Oh, it's actually surprisingly high priced. It's breaking my heart that I'm doing that because I just love the Tauntauns. I love Han and Hoth gear. I love all of that stuff. You can't tell the story of Star Wars without Tauntauns in my mind. That's what a lot of people say when it comes to voting for Hall of Fame baseball players. Can you tell the story of baseball without this guy? Put him in the Hall of Fame. You got to put a Tauntaun on this list. It's hard. The death of Luke's Tauntaun is heartbreaking. As an animal lover, it's hard to watch. Even Han knowingly almost sacrificing his is tragic in its own way. And I just, at the end of the day, I'd love to have one in a pen in my backyard that I could ride around Burbank. Just hearing that sound. That's what I want. Tauntaun's number 2. What do you think?
I'm so glad.
You can tell me if I'm wrong.
No, because I was going to have that as number 1. I'm glad that you included the Tauntaun because of the legacy of that character, creature. I say character because it really, think about how the Tauntaun shaped generations of Star Wars fans. Tauntaun's sleeping bag. My kids thought that the Tauntaun was a real animal for the longest time because it does seem kind of real. My husband and I, on our first date, technically first date, I went on and on about my love of Tauntauns, and he didn't get scared away. And he said it was in that moment that he was like, wow, this woman's really passionate about Star Wars. And we fell in love. Our cake topper, he's the Wampa. We had them make it out of sugar and fondant. And he was the Wampa as the groom, and I'm the Tauntaun as the bride. I still have it. So Tauntauns.
I didn't know that. I know so much about that Star Wars wedding you had. It's one of the reasons I reached out to you to work on Jedi Alliance back in the days and come onto the show. I forgot. I just assumed it was Han and Leia, Wampa and Tauntaun. It's amazing.
Yes. So I am so glad the Tauntauns are Star Wars. It's just, yes.
Well, I feel, number 1, really happy with this pick, Jen. But I feel bad that I stole your number 1. But
no.
Especially one day we got to do a Force Center reveals, and we'll sit down with your husband and just have him recount that date in which this wonderful woman he was on a date with just went off on her love of tauntauns. That's I don't think that's ever happened.
Thankfully, he wasn't scared. Oh,
That's
okay.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
So now this is bad. This is where I feel like I put myself in a corner because I'm going to need your help. There's no way because what I like about this is that we're opening it up to newer creatures. Okay. So
some classics are the way.
So, but here's the thing. I have two that are contention.
Okay.
Oh, is this my choice? Or
it's your choice.
Are we hashing it out?
Oh, it's your choice. But I like where you're going. I was going to suggest this as well, that maybe we almost do this like ranked voting, how most elections I think should go. Have some options out there that what you're thinking. That we're cutting some off the list. We love all these creatures. Like, look, I love them to death. I went from absolutely making fun of them to loving them, puffer pigs, but they're not my number one. They're not going to make the list.
No.
So what are some of your thoughts on number one? How about that?
Okay. So, I mean, like, again, I love all of these. The Vractal, as annoying as they sound, they're fascinating creatures. The Voltex, that was like really striking when we first saw them. The Purgles, I squealed when I saw Purgles on Star Tours. Spoiler, if anybody doesn't know that. Lurka Hounds, Batcher, so cute. Bitcha. The Convor has such significance.
I do love the Convor. Yeah. Okay.
But I believe we have to have a cuteness factor because, and this is why for me it's the dueling, the Porgs versus Lothcats.
Oh,
the Porgs had overtook the marketing really of The Last Jedi. I mean, it permeated. It's like Grogu, right? The Porgs were everywhere, and
they were the precursor.
Yeah. Lothcats, the design of that is so fantastic to see it so beloved in animated form, and then become live action in Ahsoka. Oh my gosh, I was like, it's incredible. So that's where I'm going.
And we still don't know who fed it while Sabine was gone. No, I think they gave some answer. So you're sitting down to Porgs and Lothcats. I'm going to say I agree with that. That's two of my final choices. Porgs are people tuning into this episode at the beginning were probably like, oh, Porgs are going to be number one. And sometimes I want to fight against that. You wanted Tauntauns. Sometimes I want to go with it's like the Beatles are my favorite band. Of course, millions of people are alongside with me. So sometimes when people ask me what my favorite band is, I'll not even mention the Beatles because I know I love them and you don't need to know them. I'll answer, I don't know, The Last Dinner Party because I love that band and they're my favorite band right now. I don't want to be too cute with this unless the answer is a cute creature. So Porgs on the list, but Porgs are kind of the superstar, but Lothcats they're the long runner. They're the one it's been around for a bit. People who know. There's also Tuca cats, and there's a difference there. But Lothcats, we get Loth wolves, Loth bats. We get this guy. It's very Star Wars. And then you see it in Ahsoka, and it's one of the standout things. It became a talking piece. What happened to who's feeding it? All these wonderful jokes, which I think fueled the love of Star Wars on a micro level. So Lothcats are there. They're the one that finished second place and finally comes in the top potentially. Other ones that are up in there, look, Crystal Critters, Vultuses, I love them to death, really love them. They'd make a top 10 list for me. I love Fathiers. I love the stuff with them Last Jedi. Yeah. I felt connected to them, but I think it's a top 10 list. Banthas are classic ones, but I think we got that answer. Kadus and Shaq, I love. The prequels have so many wonderful characters, so many wonderful creatures. I also think the prequels have the best monsters, and that's why the dividing line has been thrown up. But I also, I also really got to say, I've come around on them old space whales, where I would throw Purgles as an option in here. I didn't dislike them. Like, I actively disliked puffer pigs. What I disliked about the story, the Force Center lore this is even prior to Force Center. It was season 1 of Rebels, 2014. This is when I was on Jedi Alliance with Maud Garrett. And like, you bring Lando back and he's here as a puffer pig farmer or whatever. I was a little grumpy. I was almost grumpy man in car. and I've gotten over that. ForceCenter fan, I got for years. I cannot remember who sent it to me. I apologize profusely from the bottom of my heart. Someone, a ForceCenter fan, sent me the squeezable puffer pig.
No.
And it's on my shelf, a feature here on like a YouTube short video here in ForceCenter. So I've grown to love them. That thing you loathe becomes the thing you love. That happens a lot. But with Purgles, it was, I loved how they were used in Star Wars Rebels. No problem with what a lot of us called space whales for years now, referred to as star whales, but Purgles. I think it's a great story. I love it. I think it's a great use. I think Filoni is at his best when he's just spinning poignant lore and myths and fables through Star Wars. Yeah, I would also. There was an argument going around following Last Jedi. So many arguments, and I just felt like people weren't giving the movies, or particularly Rian Johnson, Last Jedi, the room to be weird, the room to be cute, the room. A lot of people love porgs, but a lot of people hated it. A lot of people loved the Thalassiren scene. And I just felt a lot of people were saying, yeah, they should get the man in the cowboy hat to do this stuff. And guess what? That's what's happened. And I don't think that's a bad idea. But I was always kind of like, but hold on, he put whales in space. And if that was on screen in a movie in 2017, you'd hate it.
Yeah.
So I got caught up in that, Jen. But I'm past that. I love their use in Ahsoka. Some beautiful stuff in Ahsoka. So that's my final choice. My 3 ranked choices here: Porg, Lothcats, Purgles. You got Lothcats, Porgs. But now it's time. We have to decide number 1. That's
all
my
right.
pitch. Where do you go?
Okay, you cleared my head. I really think, we are a deep diving Star Wars show here.
Sure.
People are going to expect us to put, maybe me, to put porgs on there. And there's a part of me that really does want to put porgs on there just because of their legacy and the impact, the cultural impact that they had. Especially that giant one that I never got, that I really wish I had gotten. That was at Target. Yeah, regret that. I'm going to pitch Lothcats. And the reason why is because of how well they worked from animation to live action. And I think cats are so comforting to so many people. I'm allergic to them, but I have outdoor cats. I love them. My kids love cats. And right now, I think a lot of us could use the comfort of a cat in these trying times.
Wow.
I love that they're domesticated. You can't really hug a porg. As cute as they are a wild creature, which is fine.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah, but you could have a Lothcat, just like what's her name?
Sabine.
Sabine. I was thinking Sabine. So yeah, like, I don't know. I love them.
Look, you're taking it home. This is your choice, your pitch. If
I
had
mine? Oh shoot!
No. You got the number 1 here. If I felt super, super strongly that I wanted to push you off that hill, I would. Like a playground, I'd shove you off the top of the playground, and we'd argue over this. Porgs would have been my choice. I think Porgs almost belong. What we do in Star Wars Ranked is we sometimes would be like, of course, the Millennium Falcon's the best ship. It's in the Hall of Fame, right? We're not going to. It's again like the Beatles thing. We don't need to worry about debating the Beatles. The Beatles are the Beatles. So Porg almost gets that. I'm not officially doing it. I'm making a decision with you here. You won. Right. Here's how you won me over. It's not Subjective Wars. That's a wonderful show that we got here as well. But when you said exactly what you said, Porgs, part of the appeal is they're wild. They are their own thing. They're going to kind of get upset with you too. They're going to join the fight. That's why we love that scene with the Porg and the Falcon. They're in on. It takes all kinds to defeat oppression. They represent a lot of powerful things. We got our buddy Ash Crossan, who probably still hates being reminded of the Porg Nation thing, but she was the leader of the Porg Pack back in 2017. But what you said about Lothcats, for a new creature that's been around for a while, like I said, in a modern age, but brings comfort. A Lothcat can probably be held, petted, and hang out with you. Porgs maybe. But porgs are still you got to probably fight your friends from eating the porg, number 1.
I mean, right.
And I got a friend who has pet chickens. All right. Okay. But I think I like this brave choice. We have Thalassirens, Dewbacks, Kawaki and Monkey Lizards, Tauntauns. Jen, that's it. Our number 1 choice here. Our most favorite Star Wars creature is Lothcats.
Yeah. I kind of boxed myself in with the Thalasirens. I will admit that. But like, look, it would be boring if you tuned in and it's like, oh, we have all the predictable ones. No,
Yeah,
we are taking stands. We are being controversial.
this is a hot take week here at ForceCenter. Is what it is. That's our list. Our favorite Star Wars creatures. Number 5, Thalasiren. Number 4, the boring but dependable Dewback. The classic. Number 3, Kawaki monkey lizards, which I thought was going to be your number 1. 2, Tauntauns, and number 1, Lothcats. We leave Porgs off the list, Purgles as well, but hey, this is a show where we share our opinions, we rank them, and you get to tell us what your opinions are. Not that we're wrong, but how you see it. Jen, that's it. Good stuff. Great. You did a wonderful job. I know it was stressful.
I'm torn. Yeah, I'm really still torn. But I want a Lothcat, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's it. I want one as well. That is it for this week. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Blue Sky right now is where a lot of action is happening, and thanks to those who followed us there, but also answered this question. And a lot of you answered with what we think are monsters, so stick around for a future Star Wars Ranked on our favorite Star Wars monsters. That is coming. You can support us on Patreon. You got links down below if you're watching YouTube for merch, where the podcast can be found. You know the drill. Follow me at KenNapzok. Or my website, kennapzok.com. Jen, where can they find and follow you?
You can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram and YouTube at Jennifer Landa or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
There it is. So, well, they didn't make the list, but for all the Porgs in the galaxy, we'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.